USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at polestar.com.
All right, Duke fans, DBR Bites, episode 110, happening right now for you. We're on the eve. We're on the cusp of July 4th. In fact, it's entirely possible a lot of you will listen to this on July 4th or after July 4th. We hope you had a happy, fun, safe holiday. I am Jason Evans. I'm joined by my buddy Donald Wine. Donald, do you have any big plans for the 4th? You're in the Capitol. Do you go see the fireworks on the mall? Is that your thing?
I used to do that, but not on the mall where I live. I can actually go on my rooftop and see it. And it's really cool because you get to see.
That's a flex, man.
Yeah, it's not just the fireworks on the mall, but you get to see all of them from around the DMV area, from as far east as Annapolis and PG County. I can see the ones in Fairfax, so it's a real cool vibe on the 4th. However, I will not be doing that on the 4th. I will be going to see Beyonce in concert at the Commander Stadium. So
whoa,
that is the big plan for this week. It's been a great week, Jason. I had the women's game. Women's national team was in town, so we went last night. I got the Tigers game tonight. Beyonce tomorrow. Just an action-packed week for me.
You are a busy man. I'm very, very impressed. My July 4th is going to be kind of boring. I'm going to go. I live in Sandy Springs, which is one of the larger suburbs of Atlanta, and we have a city center where we do fireworks, and I'll be going to that with a buddy of mine. My buddy's actually running for mayor. Sandy Springs is the 5th largest city in Georgia, I think it is. He's running he's on the city council. He's now running for mayor. And so I'm going to help him hand out little fans with his name on it. So people, while they're fanning themselves, will maybe go, hey, maybe I should vote for this guy. So that's kind of
this guy kept me cool under pressure.
Exactly. If you live in Sandy Springs, vote Andy Bauman. In any event, we have some Duke stuff to talk about. Not a ton of news has been going on. And with the holiday coming up, it's a little bit quiet. One really, really quick note. There was a new episode of the Brotherhood podcast that dropped in just the past couple days. CFOS back at the helm of the Brotherhood podcast. He had Malik Brown on the episode. There wasn't a lot on there that I thought was all that newsworthy, other than the fact that CFOS said, hey, who's the guy who's impressed you the most, in summer practice and summer play so far? And Malik paused for a second, then he goes, Dame Sarr. By the way, everyone's calling him Dame. I know we think it's Dama. I think I'm going to switch over to Dame because everyone's calling him Dame. But he said Dame Sarr, and then they started talking about how long Dame is. He's really skilled. He's very polished, but he's also super long. And I was enthused to hear that about one of the mystery men, so to speak, on the upcoming Duke team.
I have not listened to the episode yet. It's been a wild day of trying to get work done before the holiday, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to work a little bit tomorrow. But that's neither here nor there. So I have yet to listen to it. I plan on listening to it at some point over the weekend and catching up with that because once again, Seafoss back at the helm. Love to see it, and hopefully that again. He was great with it last year. He'll be great with it again, and we get to now through the summer get to introduce ourselves once again to all of these players that are on this upcoming team.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed. Seafoss did not ask favorite protein, so
that's got to be everyone's got. I think was it Jay Billis was whoever was a guest host asked the question, and I was like, oh great, this is going to be the theme for the whole thing. This is going to be the catchphrase every single episode. But if we didn't get it, then maybe I skip it so I can keep it intact.
He had interviewed Malik a year ago, so he probably asked him that.
Oh, he probably already asked it. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe we'll get it when he interviews the Boozers and some of the other folks, the Nik Khamenia and such like that. By the way, speaking of Nik Khamenia, he is a player who has not been in Durham lately because he's been playing with the USA basketball under-19 team at the FIBA World Cup. The team is currently 4-0. They went 3-0 undefeated in group play. They're now onto the knockout rounds, onto bracket play, and they won their first game against Jordan, I believe it was. Did you see the final score, Donald? The final score was 140-67.
Is that it?
God.
What kind of defense is that?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've mentioned on this podcast that this is a loaded USA team, that it is full of guys who project as lottery picks, first round draft picks, guys who project to be real impact players at the college basketball level. And then beyond that in the NBA, including guys like AJ Dibansa, who is the number one player coming into, number one freshman in the land, if you believe the recruiting rankings. I think it's very interesting. Nik Khamenia is not among the starters. He is one of the key players, one of the better players in the second five. And one of the things I think that happens in these kind of all-star team sort of situations where they don't have a lot of time to practice together. I want to say they spent like 2 weeks or so, but there's not like a major buildup. I think the coach tends to go, okay, here's one group of five, here's another group of five, and there isn't a lot of cross-pollination among them. That you sort of go, all right, these guys are going to work together as much as I can in practice, but I don't have time to work in, player 6, 7, 8, along with player 1, 2, 3, because I got to make sure that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all, you see what I'm saying, Donald? Mm-hmm. As a result of that, I noticed that the minutes sort of tend to be wildly different. Like if it's a close game, the starters tend to play a lot more minutes than the subs. And if it's a blowout, the subs get a lot more time, but they don't tend to play together a lot. Like Nik Khamenia and AJ Dibansa haven't been on the floor together very much at all. But let's talk about what Nik Khamenia has done. By the way, he is so far fifth on the team in terms of minutes played, fourth on the team in terms of minutes played, averaging almost 18 minutes a game. He's scoring 9 points per game. He's showing you a well-rounded kind of game, which is the reputation we have for him. He's averaging 3.5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's blocking some shots. He's getting steals. He's got averaging 2 steals per game. And one of the nice things is his 3-point shot is falling. He's hitting better than 41% of his threes thus far. There was, I'm not going to say it was a close game, but there was one game that was a little bit closer, and Nick only played like 7-8 minutes, something like that. The other games he's been playing high teens, even low 20s in terms of the amount of time he's gotten. And honestly, it doesn't look like the U.S. is going to get a lot of big competition in these games. For the most part, I've looked at some of the other rosters. Germany, maybe Israel, are teams that look like they might be fairly good. The USA is now in the quarterfinals. They'll play Canada next, but the Canadian team seems decent, but doesn't seem like it's going to give Team USA a big challenge. But we'll keep on watching. There should be probably 3 more games that Nick will get to play in: the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the championship game. And it's going to be interesting to see as the competition steps up, what his role feels like. But I've been pretty encouraged, A, at his shooting, and B, at the diversity of his game. As I mentioned, he's getting steals, he's getting assists, he's getting rebounds in addition to scoring some. And these are all skills that will serve him well at Duke.
I think and I mentioned this when we talked about him being selected for this team, is I'm not necessarily as concerned about the stats, how much he's playing, so much as I'm greatly appreciative of the fact that he gets this experience. It's not every day that you get a chance to go up against guys your age on an international level, representing your country and having that type of pressure on the line, and also to do it in a foreign land. It's easy enough to play some of these games in the United States, some of these all-star circuits that they go on at the end of high school, but it's another thing to do it when you're representing your country somewhere else, where every other team in the tournament, every other fan in the stands is wanting you to lose. And so he's getting that kind of pressure. He's going to learn about what it's like to play alongside other stars. And just like everyone else on this team, Nik comes in as someone who has been the star, he's been the man probably most of his life so far. And now he's on a team with a bunch of guys who have all been the man in their life. And they're all trying to figure out who's the alpha, who's the betas, who works well with others. That is indicative of what Duke is, right? Everyone is at or near the top of their class when they come to Duke. And some rise and some don't get the playing time or the opportunities that they have been getting to that point in their life and their career. I like the fact that he's getting that experience now. He can use that to come back to Duke, and he's not going to have any real fear about diving in. He's not going to really feel like he missed a beat because he's gotten that experience with this national team. So I'm really grateful that he's able to do that, and again has been able to play a little bit here and there. You've mentioned the minutes, and that's, I think, something that we thought was going to be a little bit around the range that we thought he would. Not necessarily starting, but at least getting some decent amount of time to showcase his skills.
Yeah, there's one other guy I want to mention on this team, arguably the player who stood out the most, who probably, if they were voting on a tournament MVP, would be the current tournament MVP. It is not AJ Dibansa, who's been very good. It is Mikel Brown Jr., who's a 6'2" guard on his way to Louisville. The reason I'm mentioning this to folks is because we'll be playing Louisville this season. They're considered one of the top, if not the top competition for Duke in the ACC. Remember the name. Mikel Brown is really good. He's leading this Team USA team in scoring at better than 15 points per game. He's leading them in assists at better than 6 assists per game. He is leading them in minutes played. He is also shooting 53.8, almost 54% from three-point range. Now, again, I know that the competition is not that great in these international tournaments, but still, anyone who can hit 53, 54% from three-point range, that is impressive. Mikel Brown looks like, right now, I will tell you that he and Cam Boozer are probably going to be in a neck-and-neck, really difficult battle to be ACC Freshman of the Year. This is a very, very impressive freshman coming to Louisville.
We'll see him twice because under the new format, we get him twice. And if all goes the way people expect it to be, or at least what the prediction will say, we'll see him at least a third time in the ACC tournament at some point, perhaps the final, perhaps the semifinal. But I think, again, we want those kind of players going to ACC schools. Yeah, we want to beat them, but we also want that, to be the rising tide that lifts all the ships. And that doesn't happen if all these other teams just kind of, conceding the race early on, to borrow from your friend who's running for mayor. You want these type of teams to get better, like a Louisville. I hate them, but even UNC being decent helps the conference because that's a national brand. And if they're relevant, that offers the ACC a little bit of a lift. Now, do I like it when we destroy them every single time? Absolutely. Do I want them we have a survey out. Do I like them to go 8-20 every year? Absolutely. But I know that if the ACC is to be viewed as good, UNC is a part of that equation, whether we like it or not.
All right, Donald, we got another note about the upcoming season that we wanted to get to. We've spent a lot of time on this podcast, you and I. We have spent a lot of time talking about the Duke men's schedule and how they have bitten off a big, big challenge. Well, we just got a little, some more details about the women's schedule. And boy, they are not shying away from any challenge this year. Kara Lawson and her crew taking on the best, aren't they?
Yeah, I told my best friend that clearly Kara Lawson and John Shire had a meeting a couple of months ago where they decided that collectively Duke basketball will duck no smoke this year in forms of scheduling. And we've talked about the men's schedule. Let's talk about the challenge that is up for the women. at least in Las Vegas in November. They are going to be once again part of the Players Era Festival, which goes on in Las Vegas, that takes place around Christmas time. Oh, I'm sorry, around Thanksgiving time, I should say. And their first game, Jason, is against South Carolina, who is one of the best programs in women's basketball. No matter the result of that game, they will face either UCLA or Texas in the second game. That is three of the that's three of the 4 1 seeds from the past NCAA tournament. And then there's Duke, who was a 2 seed. I really like the fact that we are going up against South Carolina, who we lost to in the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament this past season. We will have Baylor in Paris to open the season. We've talked about that. We will have LSU in the ACC SEC Challenge. I believe we've mentioned that on this show. And again, in this other game at the Players Era Festival, we'll have UCLA or Texas. Again, both of those teams featuring players that are coming back that are going to make it where those teams are going to be among the top 4 or 5 teams in the country when the season starts. I am super excited for this opportunity for Duke women's basketball to, again, kind of leap into that conversation. I mean, it was just a few years ago that Texas was not a part of that equation. UCLA was not a part of that equation. Even if you go back before we had Dawn at South Carolina was not a part of that equation. I mean, they kind of were, but they really weren't a part of that equation. LSU has gone up and down over the years, but it wasn't until Mulkey got there that they started becoming an annual presence on the national stage and winning a national championship a few years ago. So I like the fact that we are going after some of these teams and saying, hey, to get to the top, we have to beat the teams that are already there, knock one of them back a couple of steps so that we can take their place. And so to go into some of these challenges, to go up against some of these teams in some big stages is something that I know Kara Lawson has wanted to do. She's wanted to get the personnel in place and get them healthy so that they can have a strong team. And finally, she's gotten that. And it feels like, to me, that because she now has a squad that she thinks can, really make a challenge. If we've gotten close and kind of taken steps along the way, now, just like John on the other side, she wants to be battle tested as the season starts. And that, Jason, I did not even mention the fact that we're still in the ACC, which on the women's side, we talk about the men's side and how down it's been. On the women's side, it is the best conference in basketball. And the amount of teams that can beat you on a nightly basis, and the fact that we beat every single team in the ACC last year, despite how strong it is, tells me that this team is ready to take that next step. They want to be considered one of the best teams in the country. And to do that, they're going to play some of the best teams in the country and hopefully beat them so that when tournament time rolls around, once again, there's nothing denying Duke from a number 1 seed in terms of scheduling.
By the way, the Players Era Festival is not like other tournaments. And by that, I mean it is designed around the concept of name, image, and likeness, NIL. Every team that plays in the Players Era, and I'm talking both men and women, will be given $1 million to distribute via NIL deals to their players. I believe the way they do it is they sort of cut the check to the collective, and the collective then pays it out. It's complicated, but the bottom line is the Duke women are going to get a sizable NIL injection as a result of playing in this tournament. I think that each of the men's team gets $1 million, and I believe what I've read is each of the women's teams also get $1 million. And then on the men's side, there's like a bonus if you win the whole tournament. There's like another $1 million bonus.
I believe the way it's set up is, that everyone gets the same, but there are fewer women's teams than there are men's teams in the tournament. So when they talk about the men get more, it's because there are more teams that are in the tournament as opposed to the women.
In any event, it is going to be a sizable chunk of change and really good money. And for Duke to be able to say to recruits, whether they be in the portal or elsewhere, hey, we're one of the teams that participates in this, that's a really big deal. I kind of hope that the Duke men would do it as well. I think that the Duke men, there's enough money on the men's side that it doesn't move the needle the way maybe it might on the women's side. But I am glad to see Duke being aggressive, finding other ways to provide money to the players. The players deserve every penny they earn. And this is a good thing that Duke is doing this.
I love the fact they're in Vegas, too. I mean, they were in Vegas last year.
They can earn the money and then gamble it.
Yeah, well, don't gamble it. Aim small, miss small. We have similar opinions on Vegas. We love it. But I love the fact last year they were in Vegas. They were in a different tournament in Vegas, but they played Oklahoma and Kansas State, who were both in the top 10 at the time. They beat both of those teams, and that really sprungboard Duke into the conversation of, oh, this team might be one of the teams that could challenge for the ACC title. And so I really appreciate the fact that, one, they're going back to Vegas, but also they've taken a step up in stature with regards to tournament. It's not that big a step up with regards to the teams, but sure, you're going after teams that South Carolina, UCLA, or Texas. When you hear those names, people go, that's going to be a banger of a game, and I can't wait to watch them.
All right, so we were just talking about money. After the break, we're going to get into millions and millions of dollars being earned by Duke basketball alumni in the NBA. We're going to break down all the guys on the move all over the league, where they're headed, what it means, and how much cash they're getting. Former Dukies in the NBA after the break.
All right, summer is here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing that you don't want to be doing all summer, spending hours cooking inside. That is where Factor comes in.
That's right, Jason. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. With 45 weekly menu options, you could pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. It's easy to savor more this summer. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss, so you can get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors.
Man, that sounds really good. Get started, folks, at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off. Use the code DukeBB50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That code again, DukeBB50 off at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Today's top story, the flavor merger of the century between the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp. Joining me is a PBC executive.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Now, how did you know the merger and the byproduct of it, Jif peanut butter and chocolate flavored spread, would be a success?
You know, it was a gut feeling, a rumbling, if you will. Besides, they're two titans of taste.
Very true. Goes great with pretzels.
And pancakes.
Apples too, I bet. Try Jif PBC today.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Hey business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 110,000 bonus miles for a limited time through July 16th. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends 7/16/25.
Donald, we're back from the break. While we were on that short break, I lubricated my pipes a little bit because I got a whole bunch to say about Dukies on the move. I've been trying to track every single Duke player in the NBA who has changed teams or signed a new deal or whatever else it may be, and I'm gonna have at least a little comment about every single one of them. And what I'll do this. As I do my little comment or whatever, I'll give you a shot to get in and say something. Give me your comment, and we'll try and get through this kind of quickly because there's a lot. There's a lot
There
to get
is
through here.
that's the first thing, Jason, is there's been a ton of movement in the NBA so far. I mean, the free agency period is what, 2 days old and or 3 days old, I should say. And there's been a ton of movement just around the league. There's more to come. There's so many trades that are being rumored. Obviously, a lot of changes in certain teams, but within that, as you're about to experience, a lot of our Blue Devils are going to have new addresses next season.
I'm going to start with my hometown team because I am a Hawks fan. The Atlanta Hawks is one of the first moves they made in free agency, signed Luke Kennard to a one-year deal worth $11 million. Luke is not going to be a starter in Atlanta. There's little question about that, but he's going to be a very key reserve. The Hawks want to surround Trae Young with guys who can hit three-pointers. They want to, goose a little bit of that offensive firepower because they're a team that is loaded up on really good defensive players, including former Dookie Jalen Johnson. And I think Luke Kennard is a great fit with what Atlanta needs and what Atlanta wants. I'm super excited for my Atlanta Hawks. I think Luke on an $11 million deal is a pretty good deal, although it's you'll hear as we go through this. There's plenty of money for the guys who are superstars. This year, there is not a lot of money. There's not a lot of free agent money out there for guys who are sort of, a level or two down from the big stars. So for Luke to be getting $11 million is a really nice situation for him.
Yeah, and I think the way the salary cap went up the max 10% based on revenue. So the revenue's there, but a lot of teams, as you mentioned, are reserving them for re-signing some of these superstars that are coming up on contract extensions, and also to kind of clear space for maybe some of these superstars who want to go somewhere else via trade. So that has been kind of complicating things. But Luke in Atlanta, I'm really happy for you and for the Hawks because I think that's a really good situation for him.
And a team on the rise. I mean, Luke is going to a team that expects that they're going to try and make a move this year and get into the top three, top four in the Eastern Conference. All right, let's get to the Jones brothers. Trae Jones is returning to Chicago. He's a free agent, but Chicago has re-signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal. Chicago also, by the way, got rid of Lonzo Ball. They dealt him away, and that's one of the ways that they opened up minutes for Trae. I know Chicago was they picked up Trae from San Antonio like at the trade deadline or right around there, late in the season
trade
last
deadline.
year. Yeah. And they were very pleased with his play. Now, Trae is not going to be the starter in Chicago. They got Josh Giddey, I believe, is the guy who is their starting point guard. But they foresee a big role for Trae to be giving him a 3-year deal. Teams don't like to tie up their cap many years in the future. A 3-year deal is a vote of confidence in Trae. At $8 million each per year is a good deal for him. And then Tyus Jones. Tyus has had a really interesting career, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Tyus goes to Orlando on a 1-year, $7 million deal. Now, Tyus, again, I don't think is going to be a starter. Every time Tyus goes to a team where he's going to be a starter, it feels like the team kind of goes, it didn't quite work out the way he wanted. And so instead, Tyus becomes like literally one of the top 2 or 3 backup point guards in the NBA. It feels like that's kind of his fate. And Orlando has Jalen Suggs as their starting point guard. I don't think Tyus is going to supplant him, but I do think Tyus is going to play a very big role on an Orlando team that believes that it also, like I mentioned with the Hawks, Orlando thinks we can be one of the top 3 or so teams in the East, and that Tyus will be our sort of primary backcourt sub. Of course, he will be playing with Paulo Banchero, Wendell Carter. That Orlando team is loaded with Dukies, and it's going to be fun. There will be plenty of time this year that you will see Tyus and Wendell and Paulo on the floor together, and that'll be a lot of fun.
I like the fact that Tyus comes in. They may have an opening at point guard. They kind of recruit over him in a sense. They sign somebody else and they go, that guy's going to be a starter instead. And Tyus just has these games where he balls out. I remember Jason, he went from the Wizards, he got traded to the Suns, and now he's going to the Magic. That was like in the span of a year. A year ago, I went to a game when he was on the Wizards and he had 13 assists in one game and led the team to victory. And then afterwards did a talk with Duke DC. Like nothing happened. And I still remember the fact that they were like, what were you seeing out there? And he's just like, it was just one of those games. Tyus has like 10 or 11 of those kind of games every single season where he just kind of blacks out. You look up at the scoreboard and he either has 25 points or he has like 15 assists, but he's done something really, really big to help contribute to a team. And I think that's what Orlando wants. He also has that steady hand of being, he's entering year 10 of his career. So he has that steady hand of being a leader, which is something that Orlando needs as they try to move up the table in the East. The East is wide open, so all these Eastern teams making moves are trying to do that. But one thing that Orlando clearly wants is leadership at the point guard position, and they have that now in Tyus. I think it's a great move for him. And then for Trey, signing back with Chicago, the 3-year part is what gets me. That's what I like, is the fact that he's able to kind of establish the roots after a couple years of it being kind of a shaky situation, with him being not just San Antonio really liked him, but he was always the first person brought up when San Antonio was looking to make a trade. His name always came up in those conversations. For 3 years now, hopefully that means that in Chicago, he will not be a part of those trade rumors, and he can kind of settle in and really make a name for himself there.
Worth noting on Tyus and Trey. Tyus has already made like a little more than $60 million in his NBA career. Trey, after this deal, will be around the $50 million mark. For the two of them to be combined over $100 million, I don't know that anyone really expected that from these guys. When they were at Duke, when they were entering the NBA, they both carved out really, really nice roles for themselves in the league. I've been noticing something crazy happening. So Mason Plumlee signed with Charlotte, a 1-year deal, $3.6 million, not big money. But I looked at the Charlotte roster. They don't really have a big man. And there are not a lot of like starter quality centers left on the free agent market. DeAndre Ayton just signed with the Lakers. There's some of them maybe out there, but not many. Currently, the big men in Charlotte are Grant Williams, who is more power forward than a center. Tijdani Saloon. I'm pronouncing that wrong. He's a Frenchman. He's second-year player. He's really another power forward. Moussa Diabate is a center, but he's not very good. Right now, at this moment, if Charlotte had to put a roster together, I really think Mason Plumlee would be the starting center in Charlotte. Remember, Charlotte traded away Mark Williams, who had been their starting center. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they've got something else in their back pocket they're thinking of doing, but they don't have a lot of free agent money left. But I'm very intrigued by the notion that we could have Mason Plumlee as the starter in Charlotte with Sion James and with Con Knipple as the backcourt. I just think that's really interesting.
I think, well, first of all, Charlotte has been one of the most volatile teams during this off season so far. From the trades, did they just get Colin Sexton, if I remember correctly?
They did.
From the
They're
Jazz.
loading up on guards. It's weird. They've got tons of guards and wings.
Yeah. So
and no big men.
And a third of their, and after all that, a third of their roster is still Blue Devils. So again, still Blue Devil Central there down in Charlotte. But I think in the case of Mason Plumlee, you get that leadership, you have that will to win, you have that guy who can provide defense. He's not as great a defender as he was in college, but also on offense, he just knows where to be on the floor to kind of make something happen. And so I think, again, Charlotte is loading up with guys who are talented. And then in the form of the Duke guys that are on the team, there's some guys that are very good. Obviously, the 2 draftees, but also guys who want to win. Guys know how to win, who are competitive, because Charlotte needs that to leapfrog all the way up. Again, in a very open East, it doesn't take a lot to get from all the way down to the bottom to the top. Case in point, my Pistons had a 41 game turnaround last year. It can happen. So Charlotte sees that and they say, we need experience. We need some dudes. We need some guys who can shoot. We need some rebounders. I think that's the last part. And I think Mason Plumlee is brought in to kind of help on the defensive glass, but also just to provide that interior presence that they need as they go out and look for more.
By the way, I should mention Charlotte also drafted a big man, Ryan Kalkenbrenner from Creighton. They got him early in the second round, the 34th pick, right after they picked Sion James. I don't know that a guy you've taken, granted, Ryan Kalkenbrenner played 4 years, so he's not that young. He played 4 years of college ball, but I don't know that you would pencil in a second round drafted rookie as your starting center, which is why I think at the moment Mason looks like he's the starting center. Really quick, we can dispose with this one. Gary Trent Jr. has signed a 2-year, $7.5 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. The second year is a player's option, so if Gary plays well this coming season, he will. I'm sure he'll decide not to exercise that option and become a free agent. Not big money there for Gary. Gary had a pretty good season last year, and I'm a little surprised he couldn't get more than this. The Milwaukee Bucks are in a really, really weird spot. I'm not going to get into a lot about waving Damian Lillard and then using all that money to sign Miles Turner. I'm not a huge fan of that move, but it'll be an interesting franchise, and it'll be a franchise that spends a lot of its focus in the post with Giannis and Miles Turner, and as a result, Gary Trent may have some nice openings to take shots on the perimeter.
I think the other really curious thing that they did is they signed Gary Harris like hours after they signed Gary Trent, who are similar type players. They play similarly. Teams ask them to play in a similar way. So the fact that they have two Garys, maybe Doc is just going to scream Gary, and the first one to pop up off the bench gets to go into the game. I don't know how that's going to work. But also again, forget the Dame Lillard part, forget the Miles Turner part. It all hinges on whether Giannis decides to stay. If he wants to get traded, that is going to be that's the $1 million question for the Bucks. They're making a lot of moves right now to try and keep him happy, but those moves have also kind of upset him at the same time. It's just a question of what he wants to do, because that would be again, if they have to trade Giannis because he's unhappy, there's not a haul that's going to get them back that's going to keep them at the top of the Eastern Conference. And I think that's where Gary Trent probably is like, okay, let's do the player option, because it may not just be him balling out. It may be, hey, I can get out of the sinking ship after 1 year if it comes to that.
All right, next thing I want to get into involves the NBA draft. And when we did our second round draft episode, Donald, you recall I kind of alluded to this a little bit. I didn't have everything like fully baked and fully understood, but now I do. It involves Tyrese Proctor going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs have now signed Tyrese to a 4-year rookie deal. The first 2 years are fully guaranteed. So Tyrese Proctor goes 49th in the draft and gets a 2-year NBA contract guaranteed at more than $3.4 million. There's a small guarantee. It's a 4-year deal. Like I said, years 3 and 4 are not guaranteed. There's a small guarantee in year 3, but if he plays all 4 years, it's worth more than $8.6 million. This is, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but this is really unusual for a second round draft pick this far into the second round to get this kind of deal. And the thing that I alluded to on our podcast was that Tyrese's agent had kind of arranged this. They'd been talking to Cleveland in advance. Cleveland was targeting Tyrese. Tyrese's agent was talking, apparently, what I've heard is that Tyrese's agent was talking to other teams and saying to them, don't pick my guy if you're going to give him a 2-way deal. Only pick him if you're talking guaranteed contracts, because we've got a guaranteed contract coming from Cleveland. And lo and behold, Tyrese falls to Cleveland, and Cleveland gives him that guaranteed deal. That's a lot of money for a guy drafted in the late second round. I want to mention who Tyrese's agent is, because I think this played a role in all this stuff. Because some guys, they hire weird agents, or, I'll get a friend, whatever else it may be, friend of my dad, something like that. Tyrese went out there, and Duke tells the Duke players to get good agents, good representation. Tyrese hired a guy named Austin Brown who works at CAA, which is a huge agency. Austin Brown's a guy who carries weight in the NBA. I believe that when Austin Brown reached out to teams and said, you better be careful if you're thinking about drafting Tyrese Proctor, because I've got a deal in place for him to go to Cleveland. So I don't want you messing with my guy and then offering us a 2-way contract. We're getting a full deal from Cleveland. Austin Brown represents Donovan Mitchell, Miles Turner, Trae Young, OG Anunoby, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Nickeil Alexander. I could keep going on and on. Like close to 20 guys are on Austin Brown's roster of NBA players. He is not someone that an NBA GM wants to piss off. He has more than $1 billion worth of NBA contracts that he has negotiated right now, active contracts today. More than $1 billion are going to be paid to Austin Brown's clients over the next several years. Dude is big time. And Tyrese is frankly one of the smallest time guys on his roster. It is a big deal that Tyrese got this guy to be his agent. And it is a big deal that Austin Brown was able to get Tyrese to the right program, the right team that acknowledges there is a role for you here in the NBA and we're giving you a guaranteed deal. I just think it's fascinating, the behind the scenes stuff that happened here to put Tyrese Proctor into a guaranteed contract with the 49th pick in the draft. It just doesn't happen, Donald.
Jason, I do have some history for you. Do you know he's the latest guy picked in the draft to get a guaranteed deal since? Do you know when it's since?
Well, I mean, no, I'll say no, I don't know, but there's enough vagueness to that I'm not sure what you're at. You mean the last time a guy who was picked like 49th or lower got
49th or lower
deal?
to get a guaranteed deal in the second in their first contract?
Oh, I'm sure it's Bronny James.
It is Bronny James. Yes, we have to go back a year for that. Exactly a year today, he signed that deal. It's also a 4-year deal, I believe, with 2 guaranteed. And maybe he's a part of trade rumors if LeBron happens to go somewhere else. But I think the one thing is, Tyrese Proctor is not related.
Extenuating circumstances on Bronny James. That's different than anybody else.
I was just saying that Tyrese Proctor does not have the luxury of being the son of arguably the greatest player to ever lived to get that deal. He had to work for it. But I also think, Jason, this starts from before he went to Duke, when he was a part of the NBA Academy, being able to have that kind of expertise and that kind of pipeline allowed Austin Brown to really negotiate and say, hey, this is the guy that other teams are looking at. We held out for you, so make it worth our while by getting him the guaranteed deal. And you and I believe that Tyrese Proctor is going to earn that deal, and he's going to go out and he's going to be in summer league and really going to be a part of this roster and provide a boost to it. You mentioned a couple of guys that you mentioned are on the Cavaliers, so he's got that experience. He has the inner workings. He knows the team, and again, him sitting out of the scrimmages at the NBA draft combine,
right,
where we kind of hinted that something must have been promised to him. Hey, he had that inner working. This is the reward. So really, really happy that he got where he needed to go and also got the guaranteed deal to gun with it.
Yeah, and again, full praise to Austin Brown, an agent who knows what he's doing. All right, really quickly, I want to get through a couple guys playing summer league. We've been talking about guys signing for millions and millions of dollars. These are guys who are just, for the most part, like hoping to get a two-way deal. Like that would be a wonderful thing for them. Marquise Bolden is on the Golden State Warriors Summer League roster. He played for them last summer too. We've seen Marquise. He is now a good 3-point shooter for a big man. I don't know that there's room on an NBA roster for him yet, but he's going to give it another shot. So he's playing summer league with the Warriors. That'll start, I think, next week. Wendell Moore Jr. is playing summer league with Orlando. Last season, he was with Detroit for about half the year. Wendell was. They waived him. He signed a 2-way contract with Charlotte. Charlotte then waived him. Wendell's in his 4th year in the league. He's still eligible for 2-way, but this is his last year that he could get a 2-way deal. Obviously, I'm sure he wants a full contract. It's been a struggle for Wendell, to find a role in the NBA. So I'm wishing the best for him, and it'd be great to have another Dookie on that Orlando club. And then DJ Stewart. DJ Stewart is playing on the Lakers summer team, Los Angeles Lakers. DJ got a 2-way deal for part of last season with the Chicago Bulls. He never made it into an NBA game. He did play a lot of G League, averaged like more than 19 points per game, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, hit about 35% of his threes. He probably needs to get a little bit better there to really attract NBA attention. But one of the interesting things about DJ and playing summer league for the Lakers is that one of the other guys on that summer league team, a guy who has already signed a 2-way deal with the Lakers, is RJ Davis of UNC. And to some extent, DJ Stewart and RJ Davis have had this kind of a little bit parallel, different paths, which one you take kind of thing going on. They were both in the same freshman class. They were born at almost the same time. I'm not sure you know that. RJ Davis was born October 21st, 2001. DJ Stewart was born October 2nd, 2001. So literally the same age, weeks apart, came into college at the same time. They were ranked very similarly coming out of high school. DJ was like mid to late 20s. RJ was like early 40s. So that's a very similar kind of ranking. The difference in their lives is that DJ Stewart had a really good freshman year, averaged 13 points per game, playing 30 minutes per game for Duke. Whereas RJ Davis had kind of a pedestrian freshman year for UNC. He only played about 22 minutes per game, averaged 8 points per game. So DJ went, hey, I'm ready for the NBA. And he rushed out. And RJ said, I need more seasoning. So he stuck around. And as a result of that, DJ Stewart has now spent the past 3 years, bouncing around the G League, trying to find his way to an NBA two-way deal or something like that. I would estimate DJ's made maybe close to about $500,000 in his NBA career. I'm not saying that $500,000 is bad money, but it's certainly not what DJ Stewart was hoping or expecting. RJ Davis, who now comes into the NBA for the first time now after playing 5 years of college basketball, probably north of $5 million in NBA earnings. Wouldn't you think, Donald? And based on the past few years of NIL, I'm sure RJ is north of $5 million in career earnings from the UNC's NIL collective. These are two guys, pretty similar kind of players, followed very similar paths for a long time, and then one of them went and chased the dream in the NBA, and the other stuck around college, and they are on completely different paths now, at least from a financial standpoint, than they ever were in the past. I just think it's an interesting sort of sliding doors, path not taken kind of situation. And yes, I'm still salty. I wanted to get DJ back for more than 1 year.
I think when you look at, you mentioned the three guys, the three Blue Devils that are trying for two-way deals through Summer League. First of all, as happened before, I know DJ Stewart, Wendell Moore was drafted, so he was a little bit different.
Right.
But Marquise Bolden and DJ Stewart have both earned NBA contracts. You mentioned that DJ Stewart has not been in the game, but at least he's been on an NBA roster through his work in Summer League, through his work in the G League. So it can happen. Marquise Bolden was on the Hornets last year, early in the season, like started on the Hornets and then
for a hot minute.
Yeah. And that is because this two-way deal allows you to do that. But I will say for people out there, you mentioned some of the teams that they are playing for in the Summer League. They are not hoping to break through on that particular team that they are playing for Summer League. They are hoping that one of 30 teams will call them after that Summer League, because anyone from Summer League can be signed by anybody. The fact that these teams are giving them an opportunity, yeah, sure, they may want to have an extended look at them. But their hope is that by playing in the Summer League, they will play well enough that all 30 teams will get a chance to see what they can do, what they can add to a team, and hopefully one of them afterwards will extend them a two-way deal or at least an invitation to training camp in the fall. That's the next step. And so I'm really hoping that all three of those guys are able to do that. And I think in the case of Stewart, it's interesting, right? Because he leaves, he doesn't get drafted, and immediately the NIL era started, to the point where you and I would believe that at least for that sophomore year, he would come back and made a little bit of cash in the form of NIL as that era was starting up. Probably, who knows if it would have been more at the time. But again, that's just, that's where hindsight is always 2020. And you can kind of look back and see.
I will say
that,
if he'd come back, I think Duke doesn't get Trevor Keele. There are all these sort of right.
There's all these what ifs, right? If this person comes back, then we don't get this person. I say that all the time about Darko Milicic, and whether we draft him number 2, that we may not have won the title the very next year, because you need a human victory cigar in your life, and we wouldn't have had him. So, but I think in the end, these guys have opportunities here, and we can, we all believe in their talent and what they can do. It's just a matter of some of these teams stepping up and saying, hey, this guy will make a great addition to the end of our bench or to our lineup, or in a pinch if we have injury problems or something else, that these guys are dependable. They have that Duke pedigree, and hopefully they're able to use that to springboard themselves back onto an NBA roster. Again, whether it's two-way or whether it's a straight contract, I don't think we care at this point, and I don't think they do either. But a chance to get into the show or get back into the show, in the cases of all of them, would be great. So hopefully they're all able to do that.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap it up here on the latest edition of the DBR podcast, and an edition 110 of DBR Bites. We'll be back in your feed next week. I mean, there could be news. We'll see. But the plan right now is for everybody to enjoy the weekend of the 4th, and then we'll be back in your feed next week. We're going to be giving you the results of the survey we did, where all of you answered a couple dozen, 20 or so questions that we asked about Duke basketball, about your favorite Dukies and all that other kind of stuff. The results of the survey coming your way next week. Until then, he's Donald. I'm Jason. This is the Duke Band playing us out, taking us home.